A new earth is forming. A new era for humanity is dawning. Eru is rising from the stone of separation, gifting her fertility to the newborn sovereign nation, manifesting abundance in every single way. Era once again embraces the Dagda and the Fae, retrieving our voices from the masks of tribulation. Your tribe is calling. Hear it now. It's a time for celebration. This green isle, the beating heart of Gaia, pulsating with eternal love, forged from the emerald fire, inviting souls awake, all spirits from the ether, bare feet on the soil, dancing with our brothers and sisters, gathering as one. The future's here at last. Our consciousness evolves, and we dissolve the broken past. New Earth is here. It's here right now. Sense it all around you. Shake off your fears. Wipe away your tears. And feel the golden hue of God's eternal love bursting through every cell. It's time to toss your forsaken pennies into the universe's wishing well. Hello everybody, it's Mark Attwood here. New Earth. Are we ready? Well, this show is coming to you in association with the Grassroots Warrior Network. And if you're not familiar with that, I'm just going to show you how you can find it if you're not watching this show on that network on Rumble. There's Kevin Hoyt, the self-proclaimed governor of Vermont. I can't say it the way he says it. And Kevin rang me a couple of weeks ago and said, I want you to be an anchor on this show, on this network, because it's all about us coming together and getting out to more people. So that's why, because I like Kevin and I want to help in any way that I can to help as many people as possible. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but we are in a war. Yeah? COVID was a blast across the bow, but the war is continuing. And if you haven't realized it's a battle between good and evil by now, then what are you doing watching this? It's something that's extremely confusing. A lot of people that have been awake, especially since 2020, because 2020 really woke people up as much as 9/11 did, probably more, especially people who regret things. And I'm doing this because I'm going to be on YouTube with this as well. It's become more and more apparent that this war is huge. And, you know, back in 2020, I thought, oh, this will be over by Christmas. It's now 2023, May, and I'm still doing it. I've just had a really difficult couple of weeks with all sorts of physical symptoms that I believe are connected to ascension, because we are ascending. And you may have heard terms banded around like, we're going to 5D. I mean, I first heard about 5D about 15 years ago, and I'd be going, what is this? What is this 5D? The closest I'd come to 5D was wearing those glasses in the cinema for Jaws 3D. That's the closest I'd come to it. I had no idea what it was, but it's becoming apparent what that is. And since I started my channel talking about this stuff, I mean, the war's on many fronts. You know, the war's food, it's money, it's your health, it's physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. And it is the most amazing time in human history to be here. So although it's difficult, it's actually a privilege at the same time. And it's really about duality. We're walking in two worlds, a lot of us. We're walking in two worlds where we have a president that isn't really the president and isn't really the man who's supposed to be the president. And then you have another president who is the president, but nobody thinks he's the president. all prophesized by, can't remember his name. Maybe my guest will remember his name, but the prophecies, this was prophesized quite a long time ago, that would be in the time of two presidents. I actually met one of them 3 weeks ago, President Trump and Eric, and I managed to show them my book, but I wasn't allowed to give it to them. And that poem you just watched, New Earth, is at the back of this book, and I've kind of put 2020 to 22 as a period of time, because 23 and where we're going now is a different energy. And on this path, I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of amazing people. And when I toured the States, one of those people was Lois Hermann, who's an extraordinary spiritual warrior. So I thought it'd be good for the first show on the Grassroots Warrior Network to bring on Lois, one of my favorite warriors. Hello.
Wow. Hello. Hi. Hi, Mark. Oh my goodness. Is that the first time that you've shown that poem? That was magnificent.
Thank you. No, it's not the first time I've shown it, but I've decided to start showing it a bit more because it's a manifesting poem.
Yes,
It,
absolutely.
it's also a poem. Yeah. And what's interesting is how Island is woven into it. Because I've told this story on my channel before. I don't know if I've told you, but this town that I'm in has been pulling me in on a rope for 28 years. And when I got here, I was like, what am I doing here? Then my life fell apart and I was like, oh God, what am I doing here? But I was doing it from the pub for a year.
Mhm.
And then COVID hit and I was like, that's why I'm here.
That's right.
And then I started looking into it and realizing, oh, this place is quite important. And I don't mean that in a way where I'm saying I'm important. I mean, I started to understand that Ireland historically has been through hell, literally.
Mhm.
Has had, if you read the book, Ireland, the land of, oh, what's it called? I forgot the name of the book. It's Ireland, the land of the pharaohs, or something like that.
Okay.
And in that book, the author describes how Ireland had 16 layers of black magic put on top, whereas other countries didn't need more than two in order for the enemy to achieve their objectives, because of the power of the place. And also if you look at Island Atlantis, there's a book behind me called Island Atlantis, which
Mhm.
goes into great depths to explain and show how the building that went on here, in terms of cairns, in terms of portal tombs, in terms of places like Newgrange, are all connected to the constellations, and they're all spiritual technology, which then spread to Egypt, hence land of the pharaohs, linked to Ireland and Atlantis. It's all very, very interesting, and I do not claim to be an expert, but it's unfolding. And when that poem came through last year, I was like, okay, yeah, because the spirit of Eru is the goddess of fertility, and
Right.
she's the country is really called Era, not Ireland.
Mhm.
And Era is named after Eru, which is the
Okay.
spirit of fertility, and she resides under the Stone of Separation, which is about an hour's drive from here.
Mhm.
So it is interesting, and I I realized something else. I realized that lots of people have seen my poems over the years, but didn't realize it was me, or didn't realize that I wrote poetry. So I thought, well, I'll just start putting them in the show
Yeah.
because,
Yes.
and it's a good start to a show, and it's a spiritual poem, and we're going to talk about spiritual stuff. But enough about me. What about you? Tell the viewers about your journey to where you are now, and what it is that you do now, and where you think we are as a collective in this war.
Absolutely. My background is actually retired after 40 years in medicine. I was a diagnostician in ultrasound and ended up being on a design team, traveling the world doing clinical investigations and designing ultrasound systems. So, worked with engineers, worked with the amazing geniuses to create and develop, and an absolutely fabulous career. Ended up retiring about 10 years ago. I was director of clinical services for a company that provided the diagnostic imaging. So I have this technical medical background. I wish to say that because I also then, when I retired 10 years ago, I decided, most people just retire and enjoy themselves. I decided to pursue my passion, which has been hypnosis and spirituality. So I got into that because of some pretty interesting background that I don't know that we'll go into here, but it propelled me, personal situations propelled me to go into a quest for energy work, energy clearing, healing myself, my children. And it has really propelled me into a whole new career. And as you well know, Mark, when we just say yes, opportunities happen, and then opportunities happen, and we say, okay, let's do this one. And we just keep growing, we keep questing, we keep meeting new people on this adventure. So I have been for the past 10 years doing hypnosis. When I first started, I've been doing it for 30 years. But when I left my corporate job, I hired a coach who said, don't tell anybody about the weird spirit stuff you do. And sure enough, people would come in and start talking about, well, I have this dream, I have this vision, and there's something in my house. So I've been doing hypnosis with spiritual-based hypnosis for many, many years. But as you were called to write books, I was called to write a series of books. And what I do is I weave the messages. I think that I was chartered to write the books. These messages came through a fascinating client that I had. And he channeled the information. I was the scribe. I was dumbstruck at what was coming through. But they championed me or challenged me to send these messages. Now, the messages started coming back in 2016. And at the time, busy single mom, doing the best that I could with my life, I was not really aware of the geopolitical arena. But it was these guides that came through and said, you need to take ownership. You have allowed your world to become owned by the people who do not have the best interest in humanity. You must make the good people, the voices of the good people heard. So there was message after message. I ended up creating 3 books filled with messages. And so I have become basically the conduit for their messages. So I use those in my teachings, I share their messages, and it is all about coming together and that we are all one, truly. We have to, though, find each other. We have to celebrate one another. We need all of us in order to ascend. And they talked specifically, I call them the guides of the collective. One of them was Jesus, who came through. Can you imagine interviewing Jesus? I had a fascinating conversation with Jesus. And then others that all basically said the same thing. You've got to shift the energy on your planet. You have to take ownership. Only human consciousness can affect the change. But years even before I did the Chronicles series, I had a channeled message with Archangel Michael, who said, you must ask for protection first, then healing, then empowerment. So my path has been one of teaching people protection because I am meeting these amazing light workers and light warriors who are riddled, burdened, heavily downtrodden because they have been attempting to fulfill their mission, but they have been attacked, or not necessarily attacked by nefarious, which there is, but also because they're so bright, they lost souls tend to gravitate toward them, and then they get burdened, and then they lose their path. They lose their way, their intent on their mission. So my message has been one of protect first, then heal, then empower. So that's pretty much where I've, my background and where I'm at now is, it's pretty fascinating. A year ago, when I came out of the shadows, as it were, telling people about this and telling people about the auras have changed with this, the stuff that has come through. We've noticed that the auras have changed because in the past, when I would do session work with people, I would have them go into trance. They look at their aura to see if there's a spirit around, if there's something in there that's causing them to be disturbed. But suddenly people could no longer see their aura. So my mission has been to teach people how to clear their aura. A lot of people are using things in there to clear, herbal teas and supplements to clear their physical body. But as you said earlier, there are 4 parts to us. We have to heal on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, because this World War III is a spiritual war, and it's very real. So that's a kind of a little bit of a snapshot. What would you like to dive into from there?
Well, whatever pops into my head usually,
Ah,
and there's lots of things that come up from that. Because so I think the first thing I would like to talk about or get your opinion on is that is related to how confusing this whole process has been for lots of people. So,
mhm,
you know, from my point of view, um, I went on the Charlie Ward show 3 years ago, and I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I ended up. What was that?
goodness.
There's something there.
Oh,
Was that the cat?
not this time. We are having some weather. You know about my cat. My cat, when she wants her kibbles, she unplugs my computer. No, I don't. I think it might have just been a God interference, some sort of interference. We're good. We're going to put some protection around the computer, around the connection.
Well, yeah, I did that before we
Mm,
came online, and I do it all the time.
good.
Um, yeah, but I went on the Charlie Ward show, and I've told this story many times, but maybe some people haven't heard it. But I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I ended up talking about my first memory being demons coming for me
Mhm.
and trying to recruit me.
Yeah.
And they actually said, You're really powerful. We want you to come work with us because and we'll give you everything you want." And I was like, "No." I was 3 years old.
Wow.
And I came off that show going, "Oh, no, I'm ruined." It's like the guy who said to you, "Don't talk about all the spirit stuff." You know,
Mhm.
I'd never talked about any of this stuff on YouTube, but I had on Facebook for a long time because I went into the military and I started waking up. I think as a child, I was completely awake,
Mhm.
and I was always trying to escape. Literally, always. I had a backpack and I was going. I kept coming back. And then one day I saw this jet go past the window in a maths class. And I went, "That'll do. I'll fly one of them. That's my escape." So that's what I did. I joined the Air Force and I became a pilot. But then while I was there, I was like, "This isn't good.
Mhm.
This is not a good organization."
Right.
And then I mean, the people in it are great, and there are many, many good things that you can get from the British military. But what I realized, and also if anybody British military is watching this, I salute you for your service, because I know I went in there to
Mhm.
defend the Queen and country. That's what I believed at the time.
Sure.
But I met Prince Philip, and I had an award off him, and it was a very, very strange experience. And my soul knew there was something deeply, deeply dark about this person. And
Right.
he was the head of the
Mhm.
RAF. He was the highest ranking officer in the RAF, and he didn't recognize my uniform. And I was like, "There's something really strange here." And then a couple of friends committed suicide. One of those was covered up. And then I started realizing the British government were lying to the British people about things, because the things that were in the newspapers weren't matching up with what I knew was going on the bases. So I resigned. And it's my spiritual journey it's been my whole life.
Mhm.
And my whole life has been trying to find out who I am, how this world really works, what it's all about. And then when COVID happened, I was literally told to go on YouTube, and I was like, What am I going to talk about?" And I don't know,
Mhm.
600 episodes since then, and now this book, and then a film, and then it's like, what? And sometimes it feels strange to be
Yeah.
doing this sort of thing. I've got a book. Somebody called me a grifter because I've got a book.
No.
The only reason I printed this book is because everybody kept saying, "Please put your poems in a book,"
Yep.
and I had to do it myself. Nobody's going to print this.
Exactly. And people don't realize my first book that I did, it was $50,000.
Yeah, they cost a fortune.
People do not, in order to print it, in order to publish it, in order to promote it, people have no clue how much money. The second one, I can write, I can teach a class on what not to do with writing a book.
Well, so can I. We should.
I've done it. I've done all the wrong things.
Well,
And
I
now,
do, teach. I teach a class on how to write a book,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I've helped hundreds of people write books. I published Charlie's biography.
Oh, wow. You did. Awesome. I
Yep.
understand he's having a little bit of a health issue right now, by the
Yeah,
way.
I think
Yeah.
I spoke to him yesterday. He's exhausted.
Yeah, I'll
And
bet.
his Manchester show got cancelled because anyway,
Yeah.
I'll let them deal with explaining
Sure.
all of that because it's
Yeah.
none of our business. But
Yep. Exactly. Just
the
prayers for, yeah, prayers for anybody that's in the public eye. They need prayers big time.
well, that's the thing. You know, a bunch of us put our. What I was trying to get to is that I spent a long time studying things like the hidden hand, David Icke's work,
Yep.
lots and lots and lots and lots of full spectrum dominance, the creature from Jekyll Island. There's lots and lots of things that the Law of One series of channeled books, the
Yep.
spiritual stuff, the Anastasia series. I've studied Aleister Crowley, the Tavistock Institute, Michael Sala's stuff on the secret space programs.
Yep.
I think I've even got a Spider-Man. You know, I've got the Bible here. I've got
Now, were you ever into A Course in Miracles?
yeah, the Course in
Oh,
Miracles.
Bhagavad Gita, yes.
Listen, I was at a Hay House conference and I pitched Reed Tracy a book that I got told to write in 2014, and it was
Wow.
like tumbleweed,
Mm.
and I was like, "Oh, these guys aren't who I thought they were,"
Mhm.
and they're not, as it turns out.
Nope.
As it turns out,
A
they are
lot of
not.
people are not who they present themselves to be. That's unfortunate, but true. And this is part of what we have to learn on this path is discernment. That's
Well,
huge.
this is what I'm getting to. So, um, when I was told to start YouTube, I was like, "What am I going to talk about? Why do people want to listen to
Mhm,
me?" Because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here,
mhm.
and they people who've written massive tomes and researched this stuff for 50, 60 years, some of them,
Yeah,
and I was like, well, who the hell am I?
yeah.
And then you just start, and then you try your best,
Mm,
and I mean, in my case, I'm an imperfect human, right?
mhm,
And I've never pretended to be anything else, and you just
mhm,
go forward, and then the spiritual journey for me is, it's like, how can you ignore these signals that I'm getting? How can you ignore these feelings I'm
mhm.
getting? How can you ignore
Right.
these spaceships that I'm seeing? How can I ignore a dragon made of light that flew over my head? How can I not talk about these things?
Yep.
And then we started meeting the other truthers, okay,
Mhm.
and all the way through the last 3 years, it's people have said that I'm on the dark, I've been taken over by the dark. Charlie Ward's a clone. Somebody else is really dead, or a CIA. It's just insane. And so
Mhm.
people have. What I want to get to is why or how somebody watching this who's like, well, I've heard this one's good and this one's bad and this is good and this is bad and this is bad. And you just jumped the gun when you said about discernment. Um, because even today, I had a phone call a couple of hours ago with somebody who said the only, if you get these jerks in your body, that's demonics trying to interfere with whatever it is that's going on, or healing, or whatever's happening with you. And the only spirits that are out there are bad ones, and they use the memories of your memories of your loved ones and everything else to manipulate you. And then I was like, hang on a minute. Yeah, it's like I'm getting everybody's the amount of people that I've met who tell me off air that they're really Jesus is unbelievable. You know,
Yeah.
so so I'm telling the viewers as well. We're going through this as well. I it got so bad with me. Sometimes I had to stop for a week and look myself in the mirror and go, "Am I really Mark? Am I really? Am I human? Am I a good person? Am I connected? Who is talking to me?" You know.
Mhm.
So
Why is this happening? What is it that I need to my question that I often ask is, "Okay, what do I need to learn from this?" Because every single time we have a situation that's uncomfortable, or a person that causes us to pause, it might it's a learning. It's an opportunity for learning because I don't wanna have to repeat it. I've been through a whole lot of heck in my life, and I've learned that, okay, if I learn the lesson, maybe I won't have to repeat it. So I oftentimes will push pause and say, well, okay, what do I really need to see here? What do I need to learn? And going within and trusting our guides is key because there are very few people that I can truly trust. There are some amazing people in my inner circle that I am so grateful for, but casual people that you meet, you have to just be very, very cautious because if there is an agenda, it basically boils down to what is their agenda. And there are, again, from the law of one, service to self or service to others. And my guide said the same thing. That's how you can discern. Are they here to be of service, to allow spirit to work through them, or are they here for ego, greed, and what they can get from the?
Well, this is where it also gets interesting, because my background is in digital marketing. There's one of
Yep.
my books. One of my books. And when all this started, I could see lots of these people rising up, and I looked at them and I was like, they haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Mhm.
They're going to run out of money, resources. How are they going to keep
Right.
going? So I got hold of them and said, listen, you need to be building an email list, because YouTube could take you down any minute. You need to be looking at maybe charging people for some information. You need to be maybe promoting things that could earn you some money, just so you can pay all these volunteers that you've got.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
there's so many people came along as volunteers. I'll help, I'll help, I'll help. But I've seen it before. I mean, I went to meet David Icke in 2013 when he set up the People's Voice, and
Wow.
I think it was like a TV. It was supposed to be a TV station,
Mhm.
and it was in this office block in Wembley in London, and I contributed money. They raised £300,000 to get this thing off the ground, right?
Wow. Mhm.
And I could, because I've got this very successful background in business, especially online business.
Mhm.
I could see that it was going to crumble,
Right.
and I went to tell them, and I had meetings with them to try to tell them that their business model was wrong
Mhm.
and it wasn't going to last. And
Mhm.
and they didn't listen to me. And then, funnily enough, a few months ago, I'm in the offices of Gareth and Jamie Ike, and I said, I did come to see you 10 years ago to tell you your business model should be this, what you're doing now, which is what they're doing. But the thing, what I'm trying to get to there is that what happens then is people say, oh, they're patriots or they're truthers, but they're earning so much money. And that is difficult, because some of them may be infiltrators that are earning a lot of money, but some of them are earning a lot of money and giving a lot of it away. And some of
Right.
them are earning money that's allowed them to get to a bigger audience, which has allowed more people to wake up, because
Absolutely.
we're going up against the whole system,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
But
One
again, it's complicated.
It is complicated, and one of the things that the guide said is there is, there should be no fear of scarcity. There is enough to go around. The problem is that 90% of our wealth is held in 1% of the people's hands. So we've got to somehow shift the boycott what they are trying to force us into in order to support the everyday people. We've got to shift that, and I'm seeing that more and more happen. But that's one of the things that they told me several years ago: boycott those that are holding the purse strings, that are puppeting all of the people.
And that takes courage,
It
because
does.
you know I've met lots of people in the last few years who had this,
Hmm.
because they're a single mother, they've got
Yep.
children, and they didn't want
Hmm.
to lose their job.
Absolutely.
And they're still not necessarily acting on the information that they've got, because
Hmm.
they're still worried about losing their jobs, but
So there.
even though they might be working for government departments that are working against their own family,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
it's and the message I kept getting was, yeah, this is going to be tough, this is going to be nuts, but and God, I use the language of God said, right? So
Hmm.
God said, we're waiting for you to stand up.
Hmm.
Are you going to stand up?
Yeah.
And it's like, are you going to understand what it is to be sovereign? And we've and and I keep, every time I get up in front of people, the first thing I say is, we're still here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what is this?
It's change. It's change, and we have to change. We cannot continue to allow what has happened to be, because that's why we're in the state we're in. We've ignored, we've accepted, we've been compliant, and we have to change. We have to choose new ways of doing things. We have to stand up for what we believe in. And it's hard because many of us don't want to make waves. We want to be peaceful. It's an interesting dichotomy between being a peaceful person and stubborn. I often refer to you, Mark, as spicy spirituality. The apocalyptimist, because you're bringing that spirituality with zest. It doesn't have to be, om. Meditation can be walking in the woods. It can be a dance. It can be all kinds of different things where you tap into that inner wisdom and the higher self. So a lot of the way that things have been presented to us over the years is okay or not. We have to decide. You were talking about all of these the studies. I was a Course in Miracles facilitator for 20 years. I actually did the whole book 10 times, starting on January. I did the exercises for 10 years, all the way through. And the Course in Miracles, the foundation of that is all about at-one-ment and forgiveness, at getting rid of judgment, looking at everything as if we don't really know what's going on. We don't really know the real story. And even to this day, we don't know what's true. Okay, we did that
That's
again.
part of the fun. That's part of the fun.
If I don't know whether it's my signal outside. Oh, shoot.
What is happening?
Signal going? Kurt, do we know? Is my signal?
No, you're still there. Well, while Lois is sorting that out, I'll just show you guys a video I did the other day.
Kurt, is the internet down?
No, you're there, Lois. I don't know why she thinks we can't hear her.
It keeps blanking out on me.
No, we can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
That is so weird.
Can you hear me, Lois?
Why is it blanking out on me?
Yeah, this is strange.
Well,
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Well, we could hear you all the way through that.
You could.
Yeah.
Oh, how fun. Well, I was trying to wiggle all of my cables and stuff, so I have no idea. It just blanked out. I didn't look as if I had signal. So as long as you can hear me, that's good.
While you were walking around, I thought I would, part of what you said was about compliance. And
yes,
one of my callings is to tell everybody watching this that if everybody gets up and does things like this, I'll just show you this video that I did on Twitter the other day.
That's great. Go ahead.
Don't comply.
Mm-hmm.
Don't comply. It's all a lie. Your dream is ending soon. It's time to start the building. Build the world anew. All the facts you thought you knew are crumbling to dust. The seeds are sown inside your soul. Now discard the husks. Elementals everywhere, guiding lights to see. Standing firm in the storm, rooted like the trees. The wisdom of the ages surfacing at last. The future in our hands. Exterminate the past. Don't comply. It's all a lie. Do you see it yet? The hourglass is turning hard. With gratitude, forget. The world you knew is fading fast. We have to let it go. Don't comply. It's all a lie. When it's time, you'll know.
And it's not about being, I'm not saying be a poet or whatever, but just get up, just speak. Start telling your truth. I did a video about this the other week called Statement of Truth, my statement of truth. Stand up. This is about the children. This is about our future. There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. There's no choice. There will be no human race. There will be no world if we don't. That's what I'm trying to get across to people.
You're exactly right. And this is part of what the guides have said and then have continued on. So they said, I've got the books that are based on the messages, but I've continued on now, get my own downloads, and also working with a team of people. We're asking the hard questions and we're getting a lot of information about how important it is for us to stand up and speak out, even if we're not perfect. I know that when I started my radio show 4 years ago, That was because of the channel session with Jesus, who said there are more good people out there than bad, but the voices of the negative are louder and stronger. You need to make the voice of the good people heard. And I'm thinking, what do I know? I don't know. And so I started a radio show, a good news radio show, featuring different people that I would meet, and sharing the messages that I, like you, sharing your poetry, sharing the messages that I was blessed to receive through these channeled sessions. And I have met some fascinating people, and so many people who are standing up. So we have to just do that and support one another, support the ones who are standing up. That's key.
Yeah, well, I wrote a line a couple of years ago, and it went, I think it was after the fake inauguration, and the line was something like, when the truthers ate each other, because I knew everything, everybody was all best mates at the beginning. And then, as is totally normal when you get a load of people in an office, but after a
Right.
few weeks, somebody starts falling out with somebody starts going out with somebody else, then they fall out, and then this happens, and then these allegiances happen, and then somebody attacks, and then there's a bully, and then all this goes, and it's completely hilarious, really. I
It
mean,
is.
why did we
It-
expect why did we expect it to be any different? Why does God? I remember watching a clip of Neil Donald Walsh talking at a live event after he'd first had success with Conversations with God,
yes.
and he was talking about his infidelity and his breakup of his marriage, and the fact that he was living in a tent. And somebody in the audience went, "Why did God pick you? You're such a dickhead." And he went, "Well, I think that's why he picked me.
That's why.
If he was perfect like you, sir, maybe the message wouldn't be so
Yeah.
powerful." But I think one of the reasons is, and I've been saying this since day one, we don't need gurus.
Mm-mm.
Just because somebody's
No.
talking on YouTube, just
Mhm.
because somebody's helped wake you up, just because somebody might have taught you something, they're not your guru, they're just helping you.
Right.
And then your job is to pass that forward and help somebody else. And that's
Absolutely.
how it goes. But what's happened, I mean, I don't know if you agree with this, but what's happened is that we come from a society of limited hangouts. Limited hangouts are things like Catholicism, for example,
Mhm.
which is a satanic religion.
Mhm.
But Catholics are not satanic. They don't realize they're doing satanic rituals every weekend. They
Mhm.
don't realize that that really is the blood of Christ and the flesh of Christ.
Right.
They don't understand that that's been transmogrified. They don't get it because
Mhm.
they're good people.
Mhm.
So the reason why it's a limited hangout created by these evildoers is because they know that we are spirits having a human experience. Therefore, they have to give us something spiritual to keep us contained. And it's exactly the same with the other religions, so that they can then create conflict within those religions
Mhm.
and within the race. And therefore, they have control, divide and conquer. And that's
Exactly.
exactly what they do with the political system, Democrat, Republic, both two wings of the same bird. There is no, it's the illusion of choice.
Mhm.
Because we come from this society where we give away our power
Right.
so easily, and I think that's why certain people were chosen to be the messengers at this time, so that you realize, they say you should never meet your hero. You should never meet your heroes, because people are expecting some perfection to be there, and it just doesn't exist, does
Mhm.
it?
I do an exercise in NLP when I'm teaching NLP or when I'm doing exercise with a person about new behavior, creating new behavior. And I have them pick a role model, someone that they do not know very well, for that exact reason. Because if you really know them, you're going to know all of the warts and the problems, because all of us are imperfect. And yet at the same time, I want to share something. So Mother's Day, I was driving in to do the radio show on Mother's Day. And for whatever reason, I was raised Catholic. I consider myself a recovering Catholic. And I was a single mother, I used to pray to Mary all the time. And I hadn't done that in a long time. I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with the Hail Mary. That's
I
the
am.
prayer that the Catholics of the Rosary is said. And so I just started, I hadn't prayed it in a long time. I started praying it and I stopped because it says, pray for us sinners. And I went, whoa, I'm not a sinner. I may make stupid mistakes. I do things that I wish I hadn't, but it's not from being a sinner. It's from being human and making mistakes. So I changed the word, like executive privilege here. It's my prayer. And so I changed it to pray for our children now and at the hour of our death. And that felt good. Then I could say that prayer and I had an amazing day. and Mary interceded. It was beautiful with a situation that was really, really magical. So we have to realize that some people along our path that have really had good intention, even back when they were creating different groups of prayer groups and with the purpose of helping people to come together. But then somewhere along the line, it gets distorted, hijacked, twisted for power and greed, or for whatever personal reason. And then it becomes then the shadow side. So what we have to do is recognize when something doesn't fit with us. Listen to your own barometer. That didn't feel right. I love the rest of it, but I don't want to call myself a sinner, because what we call ourselves is, of course, we've done, again, we do things that we wish we hadn't done. But what is a sinner, So
Well,
we take control. We need to take control of our own our sovereign self, and then shift that energy to what we choose to be.
well, even the word sin is, the language in and of itself is a trap,
Yep.
because that's why it's called spelling, because they
Mhm.
created these languages so that, because we are the creators, we are the gods, we are part of God. That's what
Absolutely.
people really don't get,
Mhm.
because they've convinced us that we're nothing, we're meaningless, and
Mhm.
our life is all about getting a mortgage, the death
Mhm.
grip in French, and then retiring and then dying. What was that
Mhm.
for? What was all that for? But even the word sin really
Yeah.
means ignorance. It just means lack of knowledge, which
Mm.
is how they've run the whole show. The
Mhm.
word the word occult simply means hidden, and
Mhm.
because it's hidden, it has power. So you have to take back control. That's why I kept getting told off in America for cussing, because I was taking control of the language and I was reclaiming it and I was using it for humor, because they
Right.
hate humor. They hate that frequency.
Mhm.
And dogma is the thing that I was getting back
Oh,
to.
yes. Yeah.
Because once we get involved with dogma again, and there's a huge amount of that in the New Age movement and the spiritual world. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like, if you're not going to ascend unless you're a vegan, you're not
Yeah.
going to ascend if you have sex, you're not going to ascend if you have alcohol. You're not going to. I mean, come on, where
We
do you stand?
actually Mark, we actually asked Mother Gaia, because she was one of the people, the beings that channeled through. We asked her because one of the people that was with us when we did this group channel, her daughter was vegan. And she said, if you don't eat meat, you guys are all going to die. Just make sure that you use all parts of the animal. They kept telling us, look to the indigenous people,
Yeah,
look to the people who celebrated all parts, who prayed over their food, and that you are no smarter than the animals. You just must respect them. So it was very interesting, the messages that we got, and that also ties in with um, what was I going to say? You had said something else. It'll come back to me. Continue.
well, yeah. I mean, I did a peyote ceremony with a Mexican chief called the Quauti, and I remember turning up to this wigwam on a ley line in Glastonbury and thinking, "Oh, I don't really fit in here," and my clothes aren't spiritual enough. There's people with feathers out their ears and all of that stuff, and they're all taking rapé, which I've actually got here. I was going to talk about how clearing your chakras with this and stuff like that, um, and um, and I knew quite a few of the people there, and they're all vegans. And I'd been on a fasting retreat with one of them. He'd spent a week teaching me about how I should consume nothing but raw vegetable juice, which I did for
Mhm.
6 months until
Did
I
you
got
feel
ill.
better?
Well, you do at the beginning. Well, you do at the beginning.
Mhm.
You do at the beginning because you're eliminating a lot of things.
Sure.
So it kind of tricks you into thinking, yeah, this is good, this is good. But
Mhm.
once you understand oxalates, you'd never be a vegan again. And the
Mhm.
most aggressive people I've ever met are vegans.
Mhm.
Um, and the oxalates, I think, are the reason for that.
I
But
remember what I was going to say. One of the things that the guides said is they said that they have deliberately placed many different people with information, because they did not want to give the same to everyone. And the rule is if somebody says theirs is the only way, walk away,
yeah,
because there are many paths, and the paths intersect and intertwine, and we need to find what works for us. Each person has to find their own path. So you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then what resonates with me. And in the work that my team has been doing, we're finding so many of these amazing light workers who are here from other planets. People talk about the ETs are coming. We are they. we are walking among each other. There are incredible beings who have been blocked from receiving their information. And as they do, there's tapping into the ability to speak light language, to the ability to do frequency-based healing. So we have some incredible light beings walking among us. And those that have that knowing don't seem to have the need to be all about me. They're all about, I know that I need to tap into what I'm here to do because I know I'm here on a mission to help humanity in some way. And that to me is a discerning factor too. What is their true motive? Why are they here? And if they're here to be of service, then that's somebody that I want to get to know a little bit more.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. I've never called myself a light worker, but everybody else has called me one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got a video from Carol Maureen Friesen saying I was an amazing light worker yesterday. I was like, am I? Am I a light worker?
Starseed, light worker, light warrior. I call myself a spiritual ninja because I deal with the shadow. I deal with the demons, and that not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. That's just something that I've been called to do.
Well, this is something else I wanted to talk to you about because you've got you're teaching people how to become better light workers or to become light workers or to help them because that is what is required. Because I all these live events that I've done, I've looked at the rooms over the last year and I'm like, hang on, everybody here's a light work. Well, not everybody. That guy's a witch. That guy's a wizard.
Right.
There've been a few of them.
Right. Sorcerers.
Yeah, sorcerers. Yeah, they're everywhere. I got accused of being a wizard not long ago, and I was like, really? Come on.
Okay, whatever.
But it's true. The frequency is the thing that we need to tap into quicker. And the more I always had this analogy. I got this vision of it being like a petri dish in a biology class, and it's all one bacteria, and then this other new bacteria comes and it goes, and then the whole thing changes. And that's kind of what it's like at the moment because people are like, all the stuff in 3D is it's World War III, it's another fucking lockdown, it's a this, it's that, and it's a financial collapse. What am I going to do? Have you got enough water? Have you got a generator? Have you got weapons? No, I live in Ireland. It's not America. What are you going to do? And there's fear. And I go to fear, right? That's what you're going to do. It's a very English way of doing it. Whatever works for you guys.
That's right.
Just go, no, forget that. And what's this course that you're doing, Lois? What's it called?
So the course, let me just give you a little bit of background. When I had created these books, I was given messages from the guides, you must teach. Not everybody knows this, you must teach. Now, I don't know whether you can see me or hear me, but it's blanked out again. So I'm going to continue talking as if you can hear me. And if it completely goes, then we will know. But
we can hear you. I'm going to send her a WhatsApp to tell her.
So I was given guidance to do this course, energy clearing and alignment course. And I don't know whether you can see me or not, but I'm going to continue on. And last year, because of the work that I've been called to do. Where are you? There you are. Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we heard and saw all of it. I don't know what's going on.
My computer. We've got rain for the first time in several weeks, so I could be just the storm blanking out.
I've just put it on the screen for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Yay.
Disappear again. Academy of Light, ECA,
awesome.
Level 1, Light Worker Training.
Awesome.
It sounds like something Yoda should be running.
Well, kind of.
Light worker you are.
So what
happened? Over my Yoda impression, Lois.
Please do.
Light worker you are.
And I'll take out my saber, my lightsaber. So last year, we've been doing a lot of delving into the shadow side. I mean, we're rescuing dragons and fae folk and just very, very different. So I led a class last fall, and every time somebody would ask a question, I'd say, well, we don't do it that way anymore. Well, we don't do it that way anymore. So I was guided to redesign the whole training and make it into levels. So the level 1 light worker is for everyone, massage therapist, hairstylist, anybody that is working with people. It is about how to clear the aura of gunk. If you're dealing with clients, if you're dealing with a psychic medium that's got some energy stuff. So this is all about clearing energy. Level 2 is now we're going to get into spirits, because not everybody wants to deal with spirits. This is lost souls and spirits and energy clearing of land and homes, etc. Level 3 will be dealing with the nasties and the sorcery and all of that. So I'm taking it in levels because not everybody wants to do all of that. And then it will go on to NLP training, or the mastery is the navigator level 5. It will actually be hypnosis trained, spiritual based hypnosis. So because I just don't do the average hypnosis anymore. Everything that I do is spiritual based. So this is the level 1 for anybody. It's all online. It's a 4-week training, and there's a lot of support. There's a lot of interactivity. My background was as a corporate trainer, so I do a lot of PowerPoints and a lot of training exercises, so that it's experiential. You're going to have to do your homework in order to do this. So this is really hands-on, and you benefit, as do people who you are working with will benefit from this training.
That's brilliant. And it's also making me remember one of the things that happened in 2020 for me was that I was having a life review.
Yeah.
It was like a real live life review. Like I'd be driving the car and suddenly I get this memory and I'll be like, oh God. And it's like, what I was being told was, you didn't process, you didn't work through that. And it was so strong sometimes. I had to pull over and go, oh my God. Whew.
Yeah.
And then they carry on. And it's just been layer after layer after layer, which is why these physical pains have been coming up recently.
Right. Yeah.
And then healing, because we're going through this. But one of the things that really hit me was, oh, that's why I was in the Air Force. Oh, that's why I was a journalist at the Daily Token. Oh, that's why I ran a business. Oh, that's why I did training courses. That's why I became a teacher. And it's just, that's why I did stand-up comedy.
And it all coalesces together into what we're doing now. Yeah.
It all makes sense. And that's I'm bringing that up for you guys watching because, because of these backgrounds, people like me and Lois are able to put courses together.
Right.
In subjects that we maybe wouldn't have done 5 years ago, but are required right now. And I think there's a lot of people out there that need a helping hand. So fantastic! I'm glad you're doing this. And
yeah, thank you. The people who are coming to us as clients, and I say us because I work as a team with amazing psychic mediums. They are reading your energy.
I've met some of them.
Yes, you have. Aren't they amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just tell everybody, I had a session with Lois last week. What's the name of the woman that was helping me?
Christine last week. Yeah.
Sorry, Christine, I forgot your name. I met Christine in the States, and I think, was it her mum from Manchester?
Yes, her mum, Eileen.
Yeah, and we were having this session, and I saw exactly what she saw. Wasn't that? It was amazing, wasn't it?
It is amazing. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is the first session, because the first session you had, I think, with Anne, and the first one is we're clearing all the gunk so that you can tap in. And the second session, that's the beauty, is you're seeing in tandem. So it validates. So many people think, oh, I see this, but maybe not. Maybe I can't do that. And then when you've got someone else that's validating what you're seeing, it affirms, okay, that is your gift. That is, yes, you are this person. So it's pretty fascinating. Look at you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where? Me? Who?
You've
who?
got the website up there. Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant I was on your website then. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. So there's the
link's on the screen, guys. If you want to go and
for sure,
learn from Lois, then oh look, there's
a couple of there you are. Yes, right.
I'm on your website.
You are on my website. Yes, you are.
Well, I think we all need as much help as we can get. But keep laughing. That's my number one thing.
You're
Keep
exactly right. Laughter is the best medicine. And those of us who are in this truther community, and we are seeing and we are aware, we have to have practices to escape, to regroup, to reground, or to reconnect with Mother Gaia, because she's the greatest healer. Trees, animals. That's why my little familiar is almost always here when I'm doing session work. It's amazing how the animals and nature helps us to reset with who we really are. And we have to keep the light glowing with protection is the key.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, let's wound this up with protection and,
Sure.
and where we're going, because I didn't know anything about protection. And then about 13 years ago, I got a phone call from quite a famous entrepreneur in the UK. She's been on TV and stuff. And she said, Mark, you need to see this guy. And I was like, I don't need to see anybody. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. And then this guy would ring the office, and he was very persistent. And I used to get, I'm an Aries. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a little bit aggressive, right? And I'd be like, tell him I'm not in, and I'd be directing the ship forward. And I'd be like, I haven't got time for this nonsense. Anyway, he got hold of my wife at the time, and then she had this session. She came back and went, whoa, that was unreal. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to speak to this guy. So I did. And on the phone, he did something amazing. And he told me to imagine that I was standing on the balcony of a stately home. And there was a big driveway coming in with one of those circular fountains that the cars go round outside the front door. And there was a long road up to it. And he said, I just want you to imagine there's some postal vans coming to the house, and they're filling up with gold, and then they're leaving. And I imagined this, and I saw thousands of them going at 100 miles an hour, filling up with gold and then shooting off. And it was just going like this speed. And this guy's on the phone, and he goes, Mark, slow down. I went, what? He said, you've got thousands of vans coming in at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I went, how? What? And that was it. That was a big moment for me. I was like, I've got to meet this guy. And talking of Star Wars, I refer to him as my Obi-Wan, because he started teaching me about protection, and he was developing my psychic abilities. He'd take me to these weird places and say, what do you see in that room? And I go, oh, there's a young girl in there. And he goes, yeah, she died here in 1923. And I was like, what? And it was years later that I got told by somebody who knew him, because he's passed. Well, he's here. I think he's one of my spirit guides now. I said to her, and I'm telling this story for the viewers, really. I asked somebody who knew him. I said, why did he take me under his wing? And she went, because he knew who you were. And I went, who am I? Who the hell am I? Because all of this journey is about stepping into who you really are and finding out who you really are. And when you do that, you will get shot down. There will be people saying, who do you think you are? What do you think? You're some sort of guru? What gives you the right to say anything about anything? Well, if you're watching this program to this point in this program, but it's not a program, this show, I hate the word program. This is not programming. Then you probably are somebody that needs to find out more about who you really are and step into that power, because we need you.
We do. We need all hands on the ark, because the flood is upon us right now. We are split between the 3D and the 5D world. Those of us who are in that 5D awareness while we're living in 3D, we need to be supporting one another. And as people start to wake up and come out of this slumber, I liken it to talking about this vision that he took you on. Think about it like Sleeping Beauty. She pricked her hand on a spindle and fell into a slumber, as did everyone in the kingdom, and all of the brambles grew up around this beautiful castle until the kiss of true love took it all away. So
I'm still waiting for that.
Well, we are bringing the kiss of true love with the truth, with our love of humanity, with our love of wanting to preserve the beauty that we have, as we are bringing true love into this, the brambles are going to start um, disintegrating, and people are going to wake up going, what just happened here? And what we're going to need, or we're going to need the midwives and mid husbands to help people through this transition. That's what I'm seeing is the message you must teach how to teach people how to protect, how to empower, how to communicate with their guides and make sure it's the right guide and not an imposter. So that's what this is about, is teaching people to teach others, giving them the tools to help others to ripple out and create this crescendo, because we need many people. And yet there will be few that will be called to do this just now, and that's okay. The right people will be here, because it's not about numbers at this point. It is the right people who know in your heart, I need to do this work, and they will be called to do it. And it's magical.
It is. And let's end this show on a positive note.
Okay.
I think it's all going to be fine. I think it's all
I
going to
do
be.
too.
I think it's going to be more than fine.
Yeah. Now, you and Christine both saw Future Vision together.
Oh yeah.
We see this often. For 2 years, I did weekly, if not bi-weekly, Lightworker journeys, and we always went into the future, and we always saw magic with unicorns and fairies and lush and healthy. Everything was growing and beautiful. So you and Christine, will you mind to share what you saw in that Future Vision? Because it was pretty spectacular.
Well, it was like I was very high up, on a mountain or something, and I was very big, tall, with a robe, and I could see the whole the oceans, the mountains, the cities, and everything was sparkly. I think that's the best way I could describe it. It was kind of colors you can't really describe, because I don't think we've got them here. And it felt like I could just fly anywhere.
Wow.
And it was like I just stopped and had to take a look at how beautiful it all was. And the architecture was very sort of Tartarian, is the way I describe it.
Oh,
very
beautiful.
Yeah, and just stunning. And just when I describe this kind of thing to my eldest daughter, she goes, "Sounds really boring." But
I hear you.
yeah, but it was a state of bliss, really.
That is where we're going. Yes.
Yeah.
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 And what we have to do is bring that knowing. Knowing is the best. So we have to bring that knowing that is where we're going. This is a transition phase that we're going through now, but with many hands on deck, because we're all here. We've all signed up to be here or been conscripted. I'm not quite sure. But we're here now. And when we find one another and support one another, we will lift this beautiful planet who so deserves to be loved into this next phase.
I don't think we were conscripted. I think we definitely volunteered.
There have been times when I've wondered.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Me
Yeah.
too. But I just hang on to this. I hang on to this concept of the really, really, really tight shoes strategy.
What's that?
Well, if you put on a pair of shoes really, really tightly, and then you take them off, your feet feel amazing. You feel amazing relief.
Yes.
The relief is only there because you tied them too tightly in the first place.
Okay.
But it's still a great relief. So when you volunteer for a mission like this, you know it's going to be hard. You know it's going to be difficult, but you also know how good it's going to feel when it's over.
Yeah. And that's why we have to bring that feeling into the now.
Yeah.
That we can experience that feeling now in anticipation of, because that's how we manifest, right?
Precisely. So we bring it to us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing and for being my friend on this journey.
Well, it's my honor, privilege, pleasure, etc. And I'll see you in the non-alcoholic high frequency bar on the Starship Enterprise NC-01D.
All right, that sounds wonderful.
Thank you, Lois. God bless you. Take care. See you, everybody.
Out on me again, but if you can still see me, I appreciate you so much, Mark. Thank you.
We can see you. Thank you, Lois. Take care, everybody.